For like 100 years, we all kind of knew what a manager did, right? They organized things, they coordinated people, they supervised the work. But now you've got AI, and it's doing all that stuff faster and, frankly, better. This is kicking off a massive existential crisis for anyone with manager in their title. So in this explainer, we're going to break down how managers can go from facing extinction to becoming absolutely essential in this new age of AI.
And look, this isn't some sci-fi question for the future. It's happening right now. And it's the one issue that's defining what it means to be a manager today. The very things that used to be their whole job, keeping track of info, coordinating schedules, monitoring performance. Yeah, algorithms are just eating that for breakfast. And if you think this is just some prediction for, 2050, think again. The numbers are already here, and they are shocking. By the end of 2024, employers in the U.S. were advertising a staggering 42% fewer middle management jobs than they were just 2 years before. That's not a dip, folks. That's a crater. And it makes this whole question incredibly urgent. Okay, so this gets us right to the heart of it. The manager's existential crisis. The entire value they've offered for a century is just being vaporized. AI isn't just another tool like email or spreadsheets. It's more like it's rewriting the entire operating system of the company, and it can analyze and administer things at a speed no human can possibly keep up with.
So what does that mean for you if you're a manager? Well, it boils down to a really stark choice. There's no gray area here. You either evolve, you level up into a more strategic, more human-focused leader, or you risk becoming an artifact of a past era. The stakes are that high. And to figure out how to survive, first, we got to understand how we got here.
So how did we even get here? Why is this role so fragile right now? Well, the manager's job was never set in stone. It's always changed based on the technology of the day. So let's take a quick trip back in time.
Think way back. In the Middle Ages, your boss was probably a master craftsman, working right there beside you. It was direct, it was personal. Then, boom, the Industrial Revolution hits, and suddenly the manager is a supervisor, basically trying to make the human parts of the factory machine run more efficiently. Then came the computer age, and the manager morphed again, this time into an analyst, staring at spreadsheets, trusting the data on the screen. See the pattern? Each step took the manager further and further away from the actual work, and that's exactly what set the stage for AI to just walk in and take over.
And that brings us to today, where the danger isn't just about getting replaced. Oh no, it's way more subtle, and maybe even worse than that. It's the risk of becoming a slave to the algorithm. Your role doesn't get eliminated, it just gets degraded into being a servant to the machine.
So how does this happen? It usually starts with this little psychological quirk we all have called automation bias. It's that little voice in your head that says, well, the computer said so, it must be right. The moment a manager gets a recommendation from an AI and just clicks approve without thinking, they're not really managing anymore. They're just a rubber stamp for a machine.
And this slavery, it comes in two flavors. First, there's the psychological kind. This is where you basically become the fall guy for the AI, a human liability shield to blame when the algorithm inevitably messes up. But the second one, the structural kind, that's even scarier. That's when the company just uses the algorithm to manage people directly, assigning tasks, setting pay, even firing people, cutting the human manager out of the loop entirely.
And this is not a what-if scenario. It's happening right now. Just look at Amazon's warehouses. They have an algorithm that tracks something called time-off task. If a worker takes too long of a break, the system can automatically generate termination notices. In a system like that, the manager isn't even a slave to the algorithm. They're just not in the equation at all.
Okay, so that sounds pretty bleak, right? But here's the twist. Here's where things start to change. Because for all its power, AI has a massive, glaring blind spot. And if you understand this weakness, that's the key to reinventing your role.
And that blind spot, we can call it the social fabric. And this isn't just some fluffy concept. It's a real valuable asset. You know what I'm talking about. It's the trust between teammates that lets them give honest feedback. It's the culture that makes people go the extra mile to help someone out. It's the psychological safety that lets a junior employee speak up with a crazy, brilliant idea. An algorithm, which only cares about efficiency, it can't see any of that. It's completely blind to the human stuff that actually makes a company work.
And it's not just about feelings and culture. AI has some really serious technical problems. It hallucinates. It just makes stuff up with incredible confidence. Lawyers found this out the hard way when they submitted briefs with totally fake legal cases cited by an AI. And it can be incredibly biased.
Remember when Amazon had to kill its recruiting AI because it taught itself to be sexist and automatically downgrade resumes from women? Putting blind faith in AI isn't just lazy, it's downright dangerous. So, okay, if the old manager playbook is toast, what's the new one? How do you actually do this? Well, there's a new framework that uses AI strengths but protects against its weaknesses, and it completely reinvents the manager's job.
The whole idea, the big shift, is this. You have to stop being a data processor. That job's gone. That's a job for a computer now. Instead, you have to become a research-based manager. You have to start thinking like a scientist and treat AI not as your boss, but as your super powerful lab assistant.
So what does that look like in practice? It's a 4-step process. Step 1, you let the AI do what it's good at. Crunch the numbers, find the patterns, spit out some ideas. But then, and this is the most important part, the human takes over. Step 2 is to validate. You, the manager, act like a researcher, poking and prodding the AI's claims to see if they're actually true. Step 3 is the ethical check. How will this affect our people, our culture, that social fabric? And only after it's gone through those human filters do you get to step 4. Decide. You make the final leadership call.
You see how this works? It's a whole new division of labor, and it's super clear. The machine processes, but the manager takes on the truly important roles. You're the researcher who validates. You're the human who does the ethical check. And you're the leader who ultimately decides. With this model, your human judgment isn't something to be automated away. It's the most valuable part of the entire chain.
And we're seeing this play out in the real world, with real companies. Take Starkist Foods. Their managers used AI to slash their planning time from 16 hours down to just 1. And what did they do with all that saved time? They became insight architects, researching different scenarios and getting way more strategic. Now flip that coin and look at Uber, which let its algorithm robo-fire drivers without any human validation or ethical check. The result? Lawsuits and a huge mess. It's a perfect example, right? One company used this research model and thrived. The other ignored it and paid the price.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, it leads to a really powerful new reality. Yeah, the old-school manager might be going extinct, but what's rising from the ashes is a new kind of leader, one who's actually more important to the company's success than ever before.
I love this line from the research that sums it all up. The manager is dead. Long live the research-oriented manager. This isn't just about surviving, you see. It's about evolving. It's an upgrade from being a tactical supervisor to being the strategic, ethical heart of the organization.
So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway. From now on, your value isn't going to be judged by how fast you can process a report. It's going to be judged by the quality of the questions you ask the AI, by how hard you work to validate its answers, and by the ethical strength you bring to the final decision. And those are things an AI will never be able to do.
And that leaves us with one last, really big question we all need to think about. As AI gets smarter and more independent, what then is the essential purpose of having a human leader at all? Because how we answer that, well, that's going to define what work even looks like for the next 100 years.